We will begin with Jorge Denier, Hadassah International Associate Director. Jorge, who many of us have gotten to meet virtually because of all the Hadassah International presentations. Jorge, take it away.
Thank you, Carol. And once again, Hadassah International is privileged to report to the National Assembly, and for the theme for this meeting is particularly appropriate for this presentation, because indeed when we consider the phrase "nothing can stop us," the activities of Hadassah Mexico provide the perfect example. And to tell you more about that, we will be presenting myself together with Rafael Saga directly from Mexico City. As you know, and I'm not going to go long into introducing myself, I am the Associate Director of Hadassah International. I have been around Hadassah International for over 10 years and working in several countries, but particularly in Latin America. Rafael Saga, who's going to be presenting after my words at the beginning, is currently the chairman of Hadassah in Mexico, where he has volunteered for many years. We are especially privileged also to have Rafael as a member of the Hadassah International Board of Directors. Rafael has over 35 years of experience in the textile industry, real estate development, agriculture, and technology. Drawing upon his entrepreneurial background, Rafael has held many positions in Mexico, including president of the Central Committee of the Jewish Community. Before I start, I want to join in welcoming Rob Dorfman, Hadassah International President, who came all the way from Hong Kong, thanks to Zoom, to be with us. Now, let me see if I can move this. Okay. We do have some technical issues here because this is not moving. Oh, here we are. So I want to really thank, on my behalf, I want to thank Joyce, Rabin, and Rob Dorfman for your continuous leadership at the helm of Hadassah International. I feel so privileged and honored today for being in charge of presenting the Hadassah medical experience. It's a natural step for me, as I have been part of this story of love and solidarity on behalf of Hadassah International and HWZOA for the last several years. The relationship between Hadassah and the Jewish community of Mexico touches hundreds, if not thousands, of families from generation to generation, ledor bador, in a world where barriers and walls challenge the most basic human connection. Hadassah and Mexico built a bridge beyond borders, a bridge of Tikkun Olam. It is the Tikkun Olam bridge what makes this relationship special. As on one side, it has helped Mexicans cross the bridge to bring all their incredible generosity to heal the people of Jerusalem and Israel. And on the other, often enable Hadassah coming to Mexico to assist in times of distress. The Jewish community of Mexico is special in itself, with a record percentage of Jewish affiliation bordering 90%, and a structure, as you can see on the screen, that covers in a very organized way the needs of its members. Is one of the strongest supporters of Israel and a leader in innovative programs for Jewish continuity. Each community has its own school, community centers, synagogues, and a number of institutions that cover all those needs. Thanks to a strategic partnership with Keren HaYesod in Mexico and two of the largest Jewish communities in the country, twice $1 million projects were dedicated at Hadassah. One at the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, currently at the Sarah Wetzman Davison Tower, and the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at the Bloomberg Mother and Child. But it's not just that. The generosity of the Jewish community of Mexico and its love for Hadassah are seen beyond these numbers. For the last 10 years only, over $25 million were raised and donated to Hadassah by Mexican donors. 11 donations of over $1 million, among them many cornerstone donors, to the Sarah Wetzman Davidson Tower.
Okay, I turned it on. It was on
Really
mute.
show the generosity of Mexico to Hadassah.
All I did was tap it, and there's the microphone.
Made
Okay.
Mexico the second largest contributor to our operation. The latest donation from Mexico closed very recently. A donation of $5 million came from the Saba family. The Saba family from Mexico has an accumulated giving history of $13 million to Hadassah, including 3 naming projects, one at the Tower Synagogue, the second at the underground operating room at the synagogue, and the latest project, the internal medicine complex at the Round Building. This includes 3 generations of the family that are involved now and preparing its commitment for the future. While in the past, Hadassah assisted Mexico in different opportunities, such as following major earthquakes and others, it was this year when we were able to cross this bridge of Tikkun Olam, literally to save lives in the community. As you all most probably know, and Carol mentioned at the beginning, with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, Hadassah International set a global crisis response team in order to bring and share solutions in different parts of the world. Through a series of highly viewed seminars, webinars, Hadassah experts share their knowledge in public and sometimes in tailor-made meetings. The situation in Mexico was very challenging because of the level of unpreparedness and the slow response to the emergency crisis. As Rafael Sega from Mexico will share shortly, Hadassah's early intervention helped the Jewish community be ahead of the curve, and by doing that, minimize the impact of the pandemic. Sharing Hadassah's know-how with the entire society is one of the values that are basic to this relationship. The Hadassah Manual of Protocols for COVID-19, translated to 3 languages, English, Russian, and Spanish, was indeed shared with the President of Mexico. Among many other medical professionals, leaders, institutions in Mexico, and among many hundreds of people who have received this all over the world. But as nothing can stop us, even in times of COVID-19 and with all the challenges presented by lockdowns and border closing, Hadassah Mexico continued with another life-saving program started in late 2019 under the leadership of Professor Oriel Pelec, Director of Genetics at Hadassah, a genetic screening program to identify compatibility of genetic conditions among young couples of the Jewish community was initiated late last year. This program, which Rafael will explain in a minute, included 2 visits of Professor Pelec to Mexico ahead of COVID-19, where she spoke in different forums and in different frameworks. And then the most interesting part, because really nothing can stop us, during this pandemic, hundreds of tests were flying from Mexico to Israel when there were full lockdowns in Israel and Mexico. And those tests were received at Hadassah, and then dozens of hours were spent by Professor Pelec on Skype, giving the feedback of the results of this test to all these couples in Mexico. This happened in the last 2-3 months. For many of those couples and individuals, the results were and are critical for their health and that of their families. As the genetic program was being developed, donations to support the Hadassah genetic program in Israel started flowing, again showing the deep generosity of Mexican Jews to Hadassah. At the end of the day, this relationship is all about that. It's about being a large mishpoche, a global shtetl where we care for each other. Our partners in Mexico are extraordinary human beings, men and women whose leadership, passion, and commitment as members of the Hadassah Mexico board build this story and continue writing it day by day. For the last 20 years, I have to acknowledge our outstanding professional and person, Ethel Feinstein, Hadassah International Director for Latin America, who has built the basis for this fruitful partnership. It is now my pleasure to let my partner, friend, and leader of Hadassah Mexico, Rafael Saga, share his experience right now, directly from Mexico City.
Thank you very much, Jorge. Let me really start by thanking Hadassah, Joyce, yourself, for this very, very unique opportunity to speak to such a special audience. My story with Hadassah started with my involvement in some of its projects. It was later when I was in a mission to Israel that Jorge asked me if I would take the role of chairman of Hadassah Mexico. At that time, I just thanked him and asked him to give me more time. And let me explain why. After having the responsibility of being the president of the Central Committee of the Jewish Community in Mexico for 3 years and a long volunteer journey to get to that position, my decision was that I needed more time for my family, my business, and myself. I offered him and Ethel to help if there was a specific need, as I recognized the importance of Hadassah. My first contact with Hadassah was in my youth, when I was living for 6 months in Jerusalem at Kibbutz Ma'aleh HaMisha, and was taken care of by the Meidan family. They were the only family with a car in the kibbutz. And that was because Mrs. Meidan worked at Hadassah. And then she introduced me to this wonderful institution. And imagine how destiny works. There was Jorge, 35 years later, in a mission to Israel, one of my favorite things to do, in a very kind way and very serious way, asking me to devote my time to Hadassah. If you know Jorge by now, you would understand he was patient and never let me out of the hook. When I was seriously considering taking the role, a very challenging health issue happened to my sister's granddaughter. 1-year-old Raquelita got very sick. Ethel and Jorge were extraordinary human beings, helping through that situation in a very short period, and in a very short period of time, Raquelita, Becky, her mother, Eduardo, Elvira, my sister, and Isaac, her husband, were in Israel, in Hadassah, with Dr. Orly El-Pelech. Not many things could be more difficult and painful than looking at a beautiful baby, knowing that something is wrong with her, but without understanding what it is. The doctors couldn't diagnose her in Mexico, nor in the US. And Bezrat Hashem, they went to Israel, and Professor El-Pelech discovered that she had a very rare genetic condition. Difficult to imagine the endless agony they would have gone through if they were kept in the darkness of not knowing what their baby's condition was. But they didn't have to go through that, because they went to Hadassah with the help of Ethel and Jorge and arrived by miracle to Dr. Orly El-Pelech. The rest is history, and the beginning of a genetic testing program for young couples aimed to prevent situations like the one Raquelita and my family faced. Throughout this program, 150 couples from the Jewish community in Mexico have been tested, and Professor El-Pelech found over 200 genetic conditions that now can be prevented before pregnancy. Following a strategic, very specific agenda, the Hadassah board I led in Mexico has been successfully implementing such a pioneering project. Nothing could stop us from continuing this project. Not even the COVID has prevented us from doing it. And this was possible especially because Ceci Meta, the leader of the project, Elvira, my sister, and Olga Sazon, who during the last months have continued doing this testing in Mexico and sending it over to Jerusalem and giving the results in a personalized and confidential platform by Dr. El-Pelech. I want to just tell you that this has been an amazing time to do that, sending samples in a very difficult period where even to send blood and to send these samples was a real real challenge. But this team, amazingly, has done everything in order to accomplish this. This project could benefit couples from around the world in bringing healthy babies to planet Earth. And I strongly recommend being aware of this genetic test and this genetic project all over the world, especially in this audience. I'm sure there would be people that could make this happen in different parts of the world and make very, very, very big changes and tikkun olam to all these families that are able to have healthy children. In a world living under COVID-19, Hadassah and the Mexican Jewish community made a strategic alliance. Hadassah played a key role in designing the policies and actions of the Jewish community to deal with the pandemic, an action emotionally acknowledged by Marcos Chabot, the president of the Jewish community in Mexico, as you will see in a short video in a minute. In the framework of that assistance, we had webinars at the highest level with Professor Rothstein, Professor Weiss, and Professor Wald, who also guided the critical care of a very difficult situation at the HL, the Jewish nursing home. Also, we were able to share the protocols, as Jorge shared, for COVID-19 that Hadassah created with medical authorities and share the knowledge between Israel and Mexico in webinars with high-level doctors from both countries. I would like to tell you in a humble way that all this was possible and only possible because we created about a year ago from the beginning a diversified board that is amazing. Each member of the board contributes in a different field. We have young, energetic women and men, and at the same time experienced community leaders as well as donors, all working toward one cause, to help Hadassah and its hospital accomplish its mission. I feel honored to be able to be part of this amazing organization, and thank you for your time and for the opportunity to brief you about the Mexican experience.
Tuve una llamada de Rafael Sáenz, presidente del Comité Central, recomendándonos una conferencia con el Hospital Hadassah de Israel. Bueno, pues a la 1 de la tarde hicimos una conferencia, Mauricio Luca estaba en la oficina, y estuvimos documentándonos qué pasaba en Israel. Yo creo que la pandemia y todo el problema ha bendecido a México, que llegó más tarde que a otros países y se podía observar qué pasaba en otros lugares. Y así lo vimos. Las recomendaciones de Jorge Diner de Hadassah fue ese día que teníamos que cuidar a los adultos mayores, que eran la parte más vulnerable de la pandemia y los que más podían sufrir. Él conocía a la comunidad mexicana y dijo, viven como muéganos, una sola comida de Shabbat o una cena de Shabbat, una comida de una abuelita, puede reunir a 40, 50 personas y sí tienen que tener mucho cuidado. Tienen que ver lo de la distancia. Le preguntamos cómo estaba funcionando en Israel el tema de los rezos y la verdad fue de mucha ayuda esa llamada. La comunicación con Hadassah, con Jorge y la gente ha continuado a través de estas semanas. Hemos tenido pláticas con doctores y profesores especialistas para hablar de diferentes temas de la medicina, del aislamiento y eso. El Hospital Hadassah, te digo, lo comenté al principio, no hemos dejado de tener comunicación con ellos. Y gracias a todos.
Hello, everyone. Carol Ann, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Forgive me for not opening our brief program. For some of you may know, I'm away with my family, my children and grandchildren. I'm armed with 2 iPhones and an iPad, none of which was able to get the sound working when I began. But I know you join me in thanking Rafael and Jorge and Ethel, who is in Mexico, but she's with us in spirit. The Hadassah Mexico experience is something that has taken many years to cultivate, but there is no doubt that they are the most successful unit in Hadassah International, And we wanted to bring you just a snapshot of why we love them and care about them and so appreciate the stunning work that they do on behalf of Hadassah Medical Organization in the state of Israel. So my dear friend Raphael, thank you so much for being with us. Jorge got up in the middle of the night, but we always thank him for being with us. And to all of you on the national leadership, we thank you for your ongoing and unending support of Hadassah International. Thank you and good evening.
Joyce, it's Rhoda. I just wanted to thank you as the Hadassah National President for representing us so beautifully with Hadassah International, and many thanks go to Jorge and Raphael and Robert for really shining this year and showing us how amazing you are doing around the world. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you, and go to sleep, Jorge. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Robert. Bye-bye.